Okay, so well, I'll start from you know, how we set this thing up, and I put it socialism, anarchism, Luddism as the three tendencies, and immediately I got a reaction from one of my comrades that you know, there's a bit of a chutzpah there in putting Luddism on the same footing, and as those two major, you know, historical tendencies on the left, and I guess I'm going to try and justify that. And you know, I guess I came out of left politics as I was growing up, and I basically accept the argument of Marxism that one of the crucial things that goes on in society that determines an awful lot of the way society is structured and is the relationship, a particular technological relationship between people and capital in the production process that is articulated through technology. Technology is at the centre there, or has been for the last 200 years, and the precise details of that has a big influence on how the whole society is structured. That's what the Marxists called historical materialism, and I think they were fundamentally right. But it's not, basically it's not the whole story, because one of the key insights of the Green Movement, I think, has been that actually what's most fundamental to any society is its relationship with nature, actually. The material relationship with nature underpins everything, conditions an awful lot of what goes on within a society. And so I think you know, that material relationship is actually more, in many ways, more crucial, and that I think what my argument with Marxism has been actually Marxism has basically, although it prides itself on being materialist, has actually not been materialist enough in thinking about the, you know, relationship between nature and between people and nature. And yeah, so I think what happened 400 years ago with the scientific revolution was a fundamental shift in that relationship between society and nature. The scientific revolution, and best put by Francis Bacon, the philosopher of the scientific revolution, who said his key statement was knowledge is power. He didn't say owning enough land in order to get enough rents off your tenants, in order to be able to hire the knights to bash down the tenants when they get a bit stroppy, is power. Which is basically how society had worked up till that point. He said knowledge is power, and he was right. And what we've had for the last 400 years, which I've been calling technocracy, is a society in which that knowledge, you know, power coming through the knowledge of an ability to control nature, has been one of the central things that has, you know, that has structured our whole society. I think we've lived in the area in an era in which power is articulated through material control of the, you know, the possibilities of life, the way that technology actually sets the agenda for what's possible, creates our material environment, and so shapes us all. So that's, I think, that's what I mean by technocracy. And it's a system of both power over nature and over people through the control of nature. And that's what we've been told is progress, basically. Increasing control over nature is progress. And that technocracy actually has a fundamental a fundamental role in shaping the way capitalism works. For example, the key thing is, of course, was the Industrial Revolution. Basically, a set of new technologies involved in production and a new set of ways of organising production fundamentally transformed society. And I call both of those changes technocratic changes, i.e. they're about either new methods of controlling nature, or technocracy is also very much about control, systems of control and organisation. And so, for me, why I've placed a big emphasis on the Luddites, and why I think the Luddites are so important, is because what they were fighting both elements of the oppressive system that they were finding themselves in. the capitalist system of property relationships and the technocratic control. And they're fairly unique in history in that you have a movement that is both, you know, fundamentally anti-capitalist and fighting the technocracy at the same time. So that's for me is you know, what was important about the Luddites. How am I doing for time?
You've got just under 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. So okay. Well, in which case I will pursue my argument with Marxism a little bit, because what happened after the Luddite revolt and the Luddites were defeated through massive state power and violence, was that there was this still big debate going on in society, which was called at that point the machine question. And you had the political economists on one side arguing for mechanisation as progress and you know, increased efficiency of production and so on, and a big lobby in society saying no, but what about all these workers who are being impoverished and, you know, being put out of work? And that debate made its way through to the socialist movement, and what happened was that basically the power of workers to, you know, resist their oppression right at the point of production, which was what the Luddites were doing, was basically captured and taken over by middle-class groups, either sort of radical reformers or Marxists, basically. And the Marxists said, oh no, you know, you don't really understand. The problem isn't the machines. It's the man behind the machine and the system of power relations in which you're being put. And what that does is it kind of abstractifies the whole thing. You know, it turns it into a whole series of abstract concepts which are not really about the material reality that is right in the worker's face. It's about you know, some kind of abstract theory, and then Marxism got carried away into this whole notion of technology as progress, and became in many ways as technocratic or more technocratic than capitalism. So I think what was important about the Luddites was that they actually said, no, actually the problem is the machines that are putting us out of our jobs, as well as the capitalist social relationships. So, okay, that's why I think the Luddites are important. I think they are unique in the, you know, in the amongst radical movements. Not unique, but very unusual in radical movements in opposing both arms of the oppressive society. And so why I wanted to have this gathering was that I think fundamentally in radical politics we paid a lot of attention to you know, the way the capitalist oppression works, and not really enough attention at all to the way technocracy works. So I wanted to put the focus on that without, or in the least, wanting to say, you know, capitalist, you know, economic and class relations are not important. It's not a question of one thing is more important than the other, but that we actually need to pay attention to what we haven't been paying enough attention to. And I think right now, at this conjuncture of history, how long have we got?
Another 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I'm doing well. So at this point in history, we need that focus on technocracy and the control of people through you know, knowledge and through control of material reality. We need it more than ever. Basically, we're in this crisis of industrial capitalism that has been brought about by 200 years of industrial capitalism. And it's, you know, I think the problem is not just what you hear it over and over in the Green Movement. The problem is not just capitalist tendency towards eternal growth. It's also about that technocratic conception that arose in the scientific revolution, that it's fine to basically control nature to the maximum extent possible without any respect for, you know, the natural with, you know, structures and limits within nature. That domination of nature without limit is perfectly acceptable. That as much as the capitalist system is what is at the bottom of the crisis that we're facing now. And I'll just say that, you know, we're in a situation where I mentioned climate change. we're also facing this whole suite of new technologies that people were talking about in the emerging technology section this morning that are about fundamentally, in incredible ways, reshaping absolutely everything in the world. We've got synthetic biology, which basically seeks to reconstruct life from scratch, including you lot, by the way. We've got geoengineering, which is talking about engineering the entire climate system of the whole planet. So you've got manipulation of nature at the very lowest and the very highest level. You know, we have automation, which is looking to fundamentally reconstruct the whole economy and basically make jobs a thing of the past. We've got robotics and artificial intelligence that are, you know, basically looking to supersede human beings altogether, basically. And then there's the whole cyborg, transhumanism, human genetic engineering thing going on. So, and even the futurists who love to boost technology and say how wonderful it is are starting to say, you know, we're facing a series of technologies that pose what they're calling existential risks to humanity. That's where technocracy has brought us. So I think, I think that's kind of what I've said. I'll just repeat that it's not about saying that the problem is technology and it's not capitalism. It's about saying it's both, and that's the value for me of Luddism. It's a both. Luddism is an anti-capitalist and an anti-technology, an anti-technocracy movement, not an anti-technology movement. And I also think it's a key place where we can bring red and green politics together, and the insights of both of them. So that's why I think Luddism does actually deserve equal footing with socialism and anarchism. Okay.